Shalom, and welcome to our History Podcast. This is a production of KingdomPreppers.org. I'm your host, Kingdom Prepper, and you're listening to Churchianity, 2,000 Years of Leaven. We continue with our history. Part 13, Judgment Comes. One momentous year, a startling thing happened in the medieval world. The year was 535. Justinian had previously commissioned the Roman law to be codified, and in so doing, a number of new things were established, not least the legal ecclesiastical leadership of the Roman papacy over that of all Christian entities. By 535, he set out on a campaign to conquer Italy by vanquishing its current rulers, the Ostrogoths, in what became known as the Gothic War. That same year, the earth was shaken, the climate began to change, and the sun was darkened. Far east in the Indian Ocean lay two islands, Sumatra and Java. Susan Wise Bauer writes that,
between the two islands lay the mountain of Krakatoa, a volcano, slowly building up a head of steam and lava beneath its ice-capped surface. In 535, Krakatoa erupted. The explosion hurled pieces of the mountain through the air to land as far as 7 miles away. Tons of ash and vaporized salt water exploded upwards into the air, forming a plume perhaps 30 miles high. The land around the volcano collapsed inward, forming a cauldron of rushing seawater 30 miles across.
While other dates have been suggested for this volcanic eruption, author David Keyes, who published a book in 1999 titled Catastrophe, presented his extensive review of evidence for a 535 date based on tree ring data. That said, the effects of the eruption were felt across a wide region. In China, where the sound of the event is recorded in their History of the Southern Dynasties, yellow dust, they say, rained down like snow. And according to Susan Wise Bauer,
Procopius reports that in 536, all the way over in the Byzantine domain, the sun gave forth its light without brightness, like the moon, during this whole year, and it seemed exceedingly like the sun in eclipse, for the beams it shed were not clear. Michael the Syrian writes, the sun was dark, and its darkness lasted for 18 months. Each day it shone for about 4 hours, and still this light was only a feeble shadow. The fruits did not ripen, and the wine tasted like sour grapes. The ash from the explosion was spreading across the sky, blocking the sun's heat. In Antarctica and Greenland, acid snow began to fall and continued to blanket the ice for 4 years.
In the fall of 538, around 3 years after the event, a Roman senator serving in Ravenna in the Ostrogothic Italian kingdom writes a letter to an official describing the aftermath. Taken from the letters of Cassiodorus, he writes, the sun, first of stars, seems to have lost its wonted light, and appears of a bluish color. We marvel to see no shadows of our bodies at noon, to feel the mighty vigor of his heat wasted into feebleness, and the phenomena which accompany a transitory eclipse prolonged through a whole year. The moon, too, even when her orb is full, is empty of her natural splendor. Strange has been the course of the year thus far. We have had a winter without storms, a spring without mildness, and a summer without heat. Whence can we look for harvest, since the months which should have been maturing the corn have been chilled? The seasons seem to be all jumbled up together, and the fruits, which were wont to be formed by gentle showers, cannot be looked for from the parched earth. The apples harden when they should grow ripe, souring the old age of the grape cluster. And the East was not alone in experiencing this extreme level of crop failure. Susan Wise Bauer adds that
tree ring data from as far away as modern Chile, California, and Siberia show a drastic drop in summer growth from around 535 until about 540. This testifies to cold, dark summers. The darkening of the sun was producing plague, hunger, and famine across the medieval world.
It has also been discovered that ash from the volcanic eruption was blown across the Earth for some 5 years.
On the other side of the world, summers grew cold and grey. Drought struck the forests and fields of the Americas, and for 30 years crop-killing dryness alternated with the vicious flooding brought on by unnaturally frequent El Niño events.
In his book, Catastrophe, David Keyes writes that the eruption was of truly mammoth proportions. Climatologically, the tree ring evidence shows that it was the worst worldwide event in the tree ring record. Looking at the ice cores, we see that it may well have been the largest event to show up in both the northern and southern ice caps for the past 2,000 years. Further expanding on this evidence is author John M. Riddle, who, in his book, A History of the Middle Ages, writes,
On the basis of tree rings, pollen spores, data from peat bogs, and glacial changes, we know that the world's climate around Augustus's time, 14 CE, was approximately what it is today. About 450, however, warmer and drier trends are evident. Then in the 530s, evidence indicates a radical change that lasted about a decade. Speculation centers on a volcanic...
To listen to the full audio of this podcast, or to download a free MP3 version, visit our website, kingdompreppers.org, by clicking the link in the description, and journey with us on this important historic odyssey.